Hey guys, welcome back to Carib 21 Network, wherever in the world you're watching us from. And if it's your first time joining us, let me just explain to you a little bit about Carib 21 Network. So Carib 21 Network is a Caribbean lifestyle and cultural network. We deal with everything to do with Caribbean, in particular the West Indies. So whether it's trending topics, whether it's talking about history, and just the Caribbean in general, the West Indies in particular. And we bring stories from the West Indies and the West Indies diaspora. So that is pretty much what Carib 21 Network is about. So if that is something that you're interested in, just please hit the subscribe button and hit the notification so that we will pop up whenever there is a new story on Carib 21 Network. So what I want to focus on today is some trending topic that's been going on in the Caribbean for the past week. And this is about some type of, I would call it a family feud between Jamaica and St. Kitts and Nevis. And this all started when the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honorable Terence Drew, passed some legislation in Parliament that recognized Rastafarians in St. Kitts and Nevis as a religion and protection for Rastafarian in St. Kitts and Nevis. And in Parliament, he described it as the first bill of its type in the Caribbean. And the Jamaican cultural minister was not having it because she's saying that, look, Jamaica has recognized Rastafarian as a religion for decades. So who is right? Let's talk about it.
Speaker first in the Caribbean, that we have taken such significant steps in recognizing this community, because they should be recognized, Madam Speaker. When you look around St. Kitts and Nevis, everybody knows somebody who is a Rasta. My mother is a Rasta, and I can bet everybody in here almost have some family member, if not close, distant, who is a Rasta in their family. It is part of our culture, and they should have the rights like everyone else. This administration took those bold steps, Madam Speaker.
Yes, so that was the statement that went viral across Jamaica, that statement from the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew. And a lot of Jamaicans had a big problem with that statement. And Jamaicans, we are very protective of our history because there have been cases in the past where we see people try to rewrite history as it pertains to Jamaica, like our contribution to hip-hop. Like, you know, people question like the Jamaican jerk chicken, people question or patties, like some of the things that Jamaicans are known for. We have seen in the past where it came under like a lot of question where people were saying, no, like, yeah, Jamaica might be popular for that, but we were the one that did it first. So that was what prompted the cultural minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Bobsy Grange, to come out and respond to that. And she did not respond in any aggressive way. Like she credited the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis for what he did. But she said, just wait a minute. Do not try to rewrite history because Jamaica have been recognizing Rastafarian as a religious group for decades. And this is what Olivia Bobsy Grange had to say.
That's noteworthy. What I can say is that it's not the first, because Jamaica in our Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedom, we recognize all religions, and we have always identified Rastafari as a religion. And we also have Rastafarian churches that have been registered in Parliament through private members' motion and recognized as a church. We also have the Rastafari mansions. Some have been established as benevolent societies, like the Rastafari Coral Gardens Benevolent Society, and they are entitled to all the benefits that come with being recognized as a bona fide organization or church. And so I am happy to see what St. Kitts has done and to say that Jamaica has led the way in these areas.
Let me make it clear, this video is not to encourage a feud between Jamaica and our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts and Nevis. This video is about to ensure that history is not distorted, and that the question of Rastafarian as it pertains to Jamaica is very clear, because Rastafarianism began in Jamaica, and even people question that Rastafarianism started out in Jamaica in the 1930s, and this was by young men and young women who were pushing back against the Jamaican colonialism and the whitewashing of Jamaica. And these were young people that wanted to retain their African roots and their African culture. And that was how Rastafarianism started out in Jamaica in the 1930s. And I've seen people question it before, because based on the fact that Rastafarians weren't the first set of people to take the Nazarene vow in terms of growing their hair. Yes, there have been people in the past that have grown their hair like Rastafarian before, but Rastafarianism as a religion, as Rastafarians celebrate today in Jamaica, that was heavily influenced by Haile Selassie and Marcus Garvey. Rastafarian, as we know it from Jamaica, that movement started out in Jamaica in the 1930s. So this video is more of an educational video and not to start a feud between Jamaica and our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Now, to the most rousing, boisterous, tumultuous welcome ever given to any visiting or local celebrity, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I, Emperor of Ethiopia, arrived. The crowd erupted into a frenzy of rejoicing as they broke through the lines of soldiers and police and surged out onto the tarmac, eager to engulf the emperor with their affection. The ceremonial welcome that was planned had to be abandoned as the avalanche of men, women, and children swept away all semblance of order. Ethiopia, a monarchy on the eastern side of Africa, has been governed since 1930 by Haile Selassie, whom history records as being a direct descendant of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Jamaica was among the places visited by His Imperial Majesty on his tour of the Caribbean area. Huge crowds jostled for choice vantage points all along the route in the hope of seeing the emperor. George VI Park, thousands also awaited his arrival. At the foot of the cenotaph, His Imperial Majesty laid a wreath in memory of Jamaicans who gave their lives in both world wars. The tomb of the noted Jamaican patriot Marcus Garvey was also visited by the emperor.
Yes, so everything to do with the beginning, the origin of Rastafarianism is 100% Jamaican. And even though the Jamaican government over the years, they have been involved in the demonization of the Rastafarian movement and calling them a cult and labeling them almost as a terrorist organization. Jamaica, Rastafarianism was still an integral part of Jamaica from the 1930s up until 2026. And as you saw in the video, Rastafarian has been recognized as a religious organization and enjoy the same benefit of any religious organization in Jamaica, from the Roman Catholic, the Anglican, the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They enjoy the same religious freedom, the protection that all of these other denominations enjoy. And a fun fact about Rastafarianism and Haile Selassie and Marcus Garvey's contribution to the movement. In the 1963 Haile Selassie presentation at the United Nations General Assembly, a lot of Jamaicans don't know that the famous song made by Bob Marley, Robert Nesta Marley, called War, that song was inspired by that speech in 1963 at the United Nations General Assembly by Haile Selassie himself. And people know the song War until the philosophy that holds one race superior than another, me say war, until the color of a man's skin is as no more significance than the color of his eye, me say war. That song was inspired by the 1963 United Nations General Assembly speech by Haile Selassie himself.
The Charter of the United Nations expresses the noblest aspirations of man. The abdication of force in the settlement of disputes between states, the assurance of human rights and fundamental freedoms for all, without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion, the safeguarding of international peace and security. But these two, as were the phrases of the Covenant, are only words. Their value depends wholly on our will to observe and honor them and give them content and meaning. The preservation of peace and the guaranteeing of man's basic freedoms and rights require courage and eternal vigilance.
And even after Haile Selassie's famous visit to Jamaica in 1966, Rastafarians in Jamaica still faced a lot of discrimination. From that time up until even today, Rastafarians have been facing discrimination. But as a famous American politician said once, that you cannot legislate love. You can do stuff in parliament, but you cannot force people to love their neighbors. And that is what we're seeing with the constant discrimination up until now, today. Rastafarians are still discriminated against when they go into the workplace, the type of jobs that they can get. We're still seeing discrimination, not only in Jamaica, but right across the Caribbean, right across North America. We're still seeing a high level of discrimination. And one of the things that Haile Selassie did after his trip to Jamaica, which a lot of people don't know, is putting aside a piece of land in Ethiopia for Africans who wanted to repatriate back to Africa. And when he did that, that piece of land was called Shashamane land. And a lot of Jamaicans returned back in the 70s. A lot of Jamaicans went back. Jamaicans were some of the first set of people from the African diaspora. Then you had African Americans, and following that you had people from the Caribbean returning to Africa. And that was way before we saw Ghana doing what they're doing now in terms of the Great Return.
From that time till now, a lot of Rastas have returned home, and they have seen Shashamane as the promised land and the home of all returnees from the diaspora.
So give thanks to the Ethiopians who acknowledge Rastafari as our God and King, you know. Hi, and hi, Selassie.
We have the Nyabingi And these are the people who beat up the Nyabingi drums and chant down Babylon, saying they are called Nyabingi because that word itself is African origined, right? Originated from Swahili, and it simply means deaf to both black and white oppressors. Now, it came out in the days of the Mau Mau rebellion, when in Kenya and those places, people went into the bush to fight as guerrilla fighters against colonialism and even slavery. We also have the Bobo Shanti, those people who wear the turbans like mine. They don't eat a lot of things, but they eat fish and drink milk. Not all of them do. They wear the turban, and most of them also carry a broom to signify cleanliness. Remember, the Bible says cleanliness is next to godliness.
Greetings, Rastafarian. What go on? Bobo Gabriel. Bobo Gabriel? Yeah. You're Bobo Ashanti? Yeah, I'm a Bobo Ashanti from Jamaica. What does Bobo Ashanti represent?
You're right. Our father Emmanuel said that Bobo Shanti mean African sons and daughters, you know?
We also have what is called the 12 tribes of Israel that Bob Marley belonged to. They are also very strong in their faith. They believe in the prophet God, and they are a very powerful nation that does not believe in what you eat. They believe in what comes out of you. So they eat fish, they eat meat, they eat eggs, they eat almost everything. I remember Nyabingi, they don't eat meat, they don't eat fish, they don't eat anything animal.
And Tobago, one island.
How long have you been in
Ethiopia? 1 year now.
1 year now?
Yeah.
You're still fresh?
I'm still fresh.
What
yes.
brought you here?
Well, through our beloved prophet God, man. He teaches us to read our Bible 1 chapter a day and find the truth for ourselves. And from we read the Bible 1 chapter a day, we find the truth for ourselves, and we see Ethiopia, Shashamane, is the promised land.
Shashamane is like promised land for all African people. Everybody come from the world that live in Shashamane, especially the black people who, you know, like from America, from England, they repatriate to Ethiopia, Shashamane, you know. So Shashamane is a gift land for all black people.
As I was in Jamaica,
Yeah.
and then I went to Bobo Hill,
Yes.
and they told me that there's Zion in Ethiopia, and I'm like, I have never been. So that's why I came here this time around.
You're welcome, man.
Thank you so much.
You guys are welcome.
How long have you been here?
How old are you?
I am 30 now.
Come on.
Is it longer than 30 years? Come on.
Well, a Rastafarian is a follower of Haile Selassie, originally called Rastafari. Just like Christians are named after Christ, they become Christians, followers of the Christ, Rastafarians are followers of Rastafari, the emperor of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie. They are those called Rastas or Rastafarians. A lot of us prefer to be just called Rastas rather than Rastafarians, because even followers of Lucifer are called Luciferians. We want to stand out.
A young guy coming from Ghana, when I came to Jamaica, I realized that all Rastafarians worship Haile Selassie, and I really want to know why.
A lot of Rastas worship Haile Selassie because they see Haile Selassie as the second coming of Christ. And if the wise men, the Magi, who came all the way from the east at the birth of Jesus Christ, came to give him gifts and bow before him and worship him, a lot of Rastas believe that Haile Selassie is the second coming of Christ and therefore God. And therefore, they worship him.
In the Bible, in Revelation chapter 5, it speaks of the Lion of Judah, the root of David. And we know that His Majesty is the only King of Kings that carry that title, Lion of Judah. Revelation also speaks of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And His Majesty is the only man that have those titles. So we couldn't look out of His Majesty as the King of Kings and the Almighty. So biblically, we see that His Majesty fulfill all those prophecies, you know. So I have to hold on to His Majesty as our God and King.
Rastafari means head, which is Ras. Tafari means the one to fear. Everybody fear God. Righteous? Yep, everyone fears God. What does Haile Selassie mean to you?
He's a great king. He has done so much for Ethiopia. And he gave us information to come to Ethiopia because he came to Jamaica and he told us that Jamaicans and Ethiopians are blood brothers. And he said, invite us to come to Ethiopia.
So now Shashamane is home to...
Yeah, home to for black people, especially the Jamaicans, Trinidadians. But when Haile Selassie gave this land, he gave for Jamaican first time. But he say for all black people, give land, homeland, you know. So he say repatriate to Ethiopia.
Shashamane in these times is the promised land because Haile Selassie chose the promised land, Shashamane, for people returning from the diaspora, African people. Remember when Marcus Garvey prophesied that a great identity will be coming out of Africa, and this great identity would come so strong and shall lift a hand out of Ethiopia, and the whole world of blackness will look up to this great land. And Haile Selassie came out. So when people were ready to move out of Babylon, the Rastaman calls any other part of the world Babylon apart from Africa. See, moving from out of Babylon and returning to Africa, Haile Selassie became the first king to apportion a certain piece of land in Shashamane, Ethiopia, to say, you know what? You are returning from exile. This is the promised land called Shashamane.
So what Dr. Terence Drew, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, is doing in St. Kitts and Nevis for Rastafarian, it's applaudable because in 2026, Rastafarians should not be facing the same discrimination that they faced way back in the days in the 60s, 70s coming up. Rastafarians should have the same opportunity as anyone else in terms of the type of job that you can get. You cannot tell someone that they cannot be an accountant, they cannot be a doctor just because of their religious belief. So I believe that what he's doing is very important, and you can see that it is very personal to him because, as he said, his mother, she is a Rastafarian.
Member for St. Christopher 8.
With your leave, Madam Speaker, I rise just to make a short intervention because, as was said, these bills are a suite of bills that really deal with the fundamental issue of making sure that those of the Rastafari community be given their constitutional rights, even though expressed in different ways. Madam Speaker, I rise because it would be remiss of me if I were not to rise, because this was one of the first tasks that I gave to the Attorney General. I said to him that this is unconscionable, that we would have persons from a community who have lived among us, that our mothers, our fathers, our sisters, our brothers, our cousins, our friends, and they're being denied their constitutional rights, Madam Speaker. Everybody knows that my mother is a Rastafarian. But it is not based on that. It is based on what people would consider to be really equal rights and justice. I lived in the United States for some years. And I remember there when I used to be called to be part of, fighting for rights for others in one way or the other. You pick it here, you make a statement there, you stand up in your university fighting for the rights of others. And then you come home to a country where your country is not living up to its creed, in the sense that its constitution is not being respected for all groups within the communities. And when you look at this and you reflect on the errors that we would have made as a country, and we have to admit that we have made errors. And it's okay sometimes
because we are not perfect beings. And even though I might have myself suffered some of the discrimination, it is not out of malice or vexation or anything like that. Because, you know, I was never brought up to have that. But really to be thankful that we are able to reach to the point where we recognize that the discrimination of any group and to really rob people of their constitutional rights, that this is not the way to go. And so we have reached the perfect point in our history where we can look at what was practiced and say to all of us that errors were made and we are here to correct them. So in a great and deep sense of humility and respect, I appreciate what the Attorney General has done. This was a lot of work to get it right. And to thank the colleagues in the cabinet for recognizing how important this was to make sure that we get it right. Because part of our legislative agenda is to make sure, as far as possible, every man, woman, and child is equal under the law, that their constitutional rights are respected. And the Rastafarian community is no exception. That is why, Madam Speaker, you see we have persons here who are doing the sign language right here. Because there are people in that community who can't participate effectively in the processes of their democracy and the functioning of government just because they can't hear. It is unjust to them that a government would allow them to suffer more because they have an impairment. And this too is bringing justice to that community. So it's a suite of things that we are doing to make sure that where we did not have it right, that we get it right. And we do it with humility, and we do it with respect, no malice at all, but really in an effort to bring us closer together as a people. And what has gone, we should be, I would say, mature enough to recognize that wrongs were done. And we have the opportunity to correct some of those wrongs. And today, Madam Speaker, I would like to apologize to the Rastafarian community. This took too long to come. They suffered a lot. They suffered a lot. I had to stop from school for some time because my mother decided then that it wasn't right that I be taught wrong history. That Columbus discovered St. Kitts and Nevis. She said that was wrong. She was unconscionable to teach a young black boy like me in the Caribbean that type of history. She considered it abuse. But during that time, when I didn't go to school, is when I learned the most. Because I read a lot, even at 10 years old, and understand deeper what, the struggle was really about. And so I don't want to prolong much of what I have to say, except that this was long in coming. And I know from the Rastafari community, they have no hate, no hatred in their hearts. They have a lot of love. And as this comes, I know they appreciate what is happening, and so we can continue to work to make sure that we continue to become that more perfect union of all of us having our rights, respecting each other, and living in our beautiful St. Kitts and Nevis. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So guys, sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this one. What do you think about what Dr. Terence Drew is doing in St. Kitts and Nevis to protect the Rastafarian community? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And just share what do you think about this video overall. Let me know in the comment section. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing videos. Here at Carib 21, I'm on a mission to showcase the vibrant culture and the breathtaking beauty of the Caribbean while showcasing our culture and what is trending. If you want to support me on this mission, please subscribe. And if you also want to support, you can hit the comment section and buy me a cup of coffee. In order to buy me a cup of coffee, you can follow these instructions. Just click more. You will see the link to buy me a cup of coffee. Click the link. You can purchase 1 or 2 cups of coffee, and you'll be helping me to fulfill this mission. Thank you.